Well, the fallout continues over AC Club's closing and purchase by Caesars. Our state senator, Jim Whelan, wants regulators to prohibit Caesars from restricting Atlantic Club's use as a casino. In case you haven't heard that, on 40 last night, and in case you haven't read it in the paper yet this morning, here is State Senator Jim Whelan. Good morning, Senator.
Morning, Don. How are you?
Fine. You found, you took a good look at the paperwork here, and it sounds like they really want to restrict competition.
Well, they did it with their purchase at Claridge, which we found out after the fact, after the sale happened, that there's a deed restriction there, that the Claridge property will not be able to be used as a casino. And in talking to some representatives of people who are interested in purchasing Atlantic Club, and by the way, those purchasers are non-casino interest, they want to do the same thing here. Now, the reality is it's unlikely that you're going to see a casino come back there and reopen anytime soon. However, I don't think we should, prohibit that 5, 10, 15 years from now, which is what a deed restriction does. And also, frankly, again, unfortunately, we do have the Claridge, but, if Caesars were to sell another one of their properties, it's not a secret they were trying to sell Showboat. If Trump Plaza were to get sold by Carl Icahn, the owner of Tropicana, winds up with the Trump properties, which is a possibility because he holds the bonds there. Do you have a deed restriction there? Now all of a sudden, you really are restricting long-term any potential future growth. So, my hope is that Caesars sells Atlantic Club. The worst thing is for the building to sit there vacant and empty. And the reality is it's probably not going to be a casino, as I say, in the near term. But whether it's, a condo or a timeshare or a hotel or some other use, I just am not comfortable with the idea of restricting competition going forward. It may be good for Caesars, but I don't think it's good for Atlantic City. And I certainly do think it violates the undue economic concentration clause of the enabling legislation. The commission would have to approve that restriction, right? Well, actually, the sale, normally with sales, they don't necessarily go before the commission unless they're selling to a casino interest. I think what would have to happen is the division and the commission would have to let Caesars know, hey, you have a casino license. You've been granted a license by the state of New Jersey through the Casino Control Commission to operate casinos in New Jersey. And part of the condition of that is to follow the enabling legislation, the laws that are there, which is you can't have undue economic concentration. You have over 40% of the market share now, and you're going to restrict what happens going forward. We have a problem with that, so if you want to sell it, but we don't want that deed restriction in there. I would hope that that's what the outcome of this would be from the Division of Gaming and the Casino Control Commission.
Well, Senator, have you talked to your leader in the Senate, a man who's keenly interested in Atlantic City, and that state Senate President Sweeney? Have you conferred with him on this, and what's his leaning?
Well, I haven't spoken to him specifically on this. I have expressed a concern about economic concentration to him. One of the things that, and one of the reasons I haven't spoken specifically is, as legislators, our first instinct is to say, okay, what do we need to do legislatively to address this? The fact is that we don't need to do anything. It's already in the bill. It's already in the law. That when the bill was changed, when the law was changed back in the 90s, that you went from a limit of 3 casinos, you couldn't have more than 3, to undue economic concentration. That's the current law. And there was an editorial by a couple of Stockton professors on how you measure economic concentration, and by any measure, Caesars is beyond the threshold of economic concentration, as I say, with over 40% of the market share, whether it's rooms or casino win or what have you. And then to come on top of that and to act in a predatory manner with the purchase of Atlantic Club first, and then a restrictive manner with the deed restriction. I think it's as plain as a nose on your face, as they say, that the case is there. And I just hope that, frankly, my hope would be that Caesars will look at this and say, okay, we're willing to sell it, and if the market turns around 10, 15 years from now, so be it, but we'll sell it today and go forward on that basis.
10 or 15 years, that seems like a very long time for the market to turn around. Do you mean, from the experts, and your own feeling is that it's going to take maybe 10 or 15 years before this market, if ever, that it turns around? How about 2 or 5 years?
Well, I say 10 or 15 because I'm trying to make the point that the deed restriction would run forever. It would run 10, 15, 20 years from now. Now, in terms of where the market is, the first thing we have to do is really stabilize where we are. There's no question we've been dropping. The numbers show it, and we've got to stabilize it. Hopefully, internet was an attempt to do some of that. We had 9 million last month, and hopefully that will grow again. It grows by 28% a month, which it did from December to January. Until it gets, it's not going to grow forever 28% a month, but until it gets up to the numbers that people expected, that would be one help. I think the other thing is, and we've talked about it, forever now, it seems, that, we're changing the marketing of Atlantic City, more events, more conventions, more trade shows, more reasons to come midwinter, midweek. And if we can stabilize and then slowly start to grow our way back, I do think we have to be realistic. It is at least 5 years out or more before you're going to see someone come in and perhaps buy, or I shouldn't say buy, before someone comes in and builds a new casino. That's a long way off, but again, someone could buy if they want to take the shot at Atlantic Club, buy it and try to run it as a casino property. I think they should have that ability. I don't think it's likely in the next couple years. Maybe it'll be 3 years out or 4 years out. But again, the deed restriction would run forever.
Are you getting any support? Have you heard from Mayor, or have you contacted Mayor Don Guardian? How about your fellow senators, Van Drew? Are you hearing from anyone else that's rallying to your side on this?
Well, again, we just put this out, Don, so we really haven't, gotten a lot of feedback on that. I mean, frankly, we got some feedback on the Rebel issue, and part of it was the Stockton professors sending in a guest editorial to the press. We will be reaching out for Mayor Guardian and others. Again, from the legislative side, I don't look at. I've thought about it. Like, should we pass a bill on this? But we really don't need to pass a bill beyond what is there now. So it's not a question of, let's say, lobbying for, among my fellow legislators and saying we need to do this or we need to do that.
But there's strength in numbers. If they put pressure on the commission, they say, whoa, and the DGE, right?
Well, I don't think it's so much a question of pressure on them. I think that, I have had brief conversations with their representatives, letting them know that we're going to send this letter, letting them know what the issue is, and they certainly are going to look at it, is the indication I've gotten back, and hopefully have some conversations with Caesars. And, from my perspective, the best outcome would be for Caesars to say, yes, we're going to sell it, but we're not going to insist on a deed restriction, and then we're done with this issue, and, we can all get on with our lives. And if there's someone who wants to buy it and try to run it as a casino now or in the future, that option would be available. I mean, again, you sell Atlantic Club with a deed restriction. If they sell, as they've been trying to sell, Showboat, and there's a deed restriction that will go into effect there, Trump Plaza could wind up with a deed restriction if Icon gets it and decides to sell it. All of a sudden you have no sites left, so that the existing properties would then have, a total monopoly going forward. And I don't think that's what the bill I don't think that's what the law intended. I don't think that's good public policy. I don't think that's good for Atlantic City.
Thank you, Senator. Thanks very much. And so the next move will be, who's it up to in this game of checkers here?
Well, I think the next thing that would happen would be some conversations with the regulators and with Caesars. And I expect that will happen from the conversations I've had with both the regulators and with Caesars, that there will be some conversations there on this issue. And as I say, hopefully everyone will look at it and say, okay, this is what the law says. We don't want to violate the law. Let's go ahead with the sale.
Thank you. Have a good weekend, Senator. Should be a good one.
Right.
Thank you. Thank you, State Senator Jim Whelan. And the big story appears